Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're doing a comparison between the new Ford Raptor R and the Ram TRX. Before we get into the comparison though, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. With that being said, let's get right into it. Now, I do quickly need to mention that this video will contain clips of an EcoBoost Raptor, the TRX, and then the Raptor R as well. Trust me, it'll make sense by the end of the video. Anyways, under the hood of the regular EcoBoost Raptor, you've got the twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6, goes through 10-speed, good for 450 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. The new Raptor R has a supercharged 5.2-liter V8, goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission as well. It's good for 700 horsepower and 640 pound-feet of torque, so it's up by a substantial margin on horsepower and torque compared to the EcoBoost Raptor, which just makes it a massive improvement. Now, if we compare those numbers to what you have under the hood of the TRX, we have a supercharged 6.2-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission, so we're down on 2 gears compared to the Raptors, but it's good for 702 horsepower and then 650 pound-feet of torque, so we have 10 pound-feet of torque more than the Raptor R and 2 more horsepower. Marginal amounts at best, but being a 6.2-liter supercharged V8, it does weigh quite a bit more, the engine itself, compared to the 5.2-liter V8 that is in the Raptor R. Still got to have the TRX eating the Raptor though, which is absolutely hilarious. Now, going over the front end of the Raptor, this one is a 37 performance package, so this has the same like heightened proportions as what you'll get with a Raptor R, and like I said, I do have some clips of the Raptor R. But notice we've got those signature daytime running lights that are in orange. Notice it says Raptor right there, and then you've got the orange marker lights as well, which look absolutely fantastic. I just love the new chunky marker lights on the 3rd generation Raptor. It just looks great. And what you guys will notice here with the 37 performance package Raptor is it looks pretty much identical to the Raptor R from a front end perspective. There are some slight changes, we'll go over those in a little bit, but notice the big prominent skid plate. You got the fog lights there off to the side. One of them's covered up because it's too bright for legal street use, but you can just take off the cap and use it if your heart so desires to blind people, I suppose, at night, which is just like a truck owner thing to do, right? But great looking truck from front end perspective. Now, popping over to the TRX, what you guys will notice here is that we have a completely different design language. Everything's kind of more rounded off with the TRX and just has this like kind of more like bulbous appearance to it, which is fitting because it is the heavier truck out of the bunch. Still have the marker lights. With the TRX styling, initially a lot of people gave it a lot of grief because it looks too similar to a Rebel, but now that it's been out for a while, I think it's grown on a lot of people. Like, it just is a really cool looking truck. Whether or not it looks too close to a Rebel doesn't really matter. It's a good looking truck overall, especially from a front end perspective. Like with the marker lights and everything, come on, you know it's a Ram TRX when you see it in the rear view mirror. Now, popping over to the Raptor, with the performance package or with the Raptor R, you have 17-inch wheels and 37-inch tall tires. Now, with the regular Raptor, it's optional equipment. With the Raptor R, it's standard. Now, you guys will notice that these are the beadlock capable wheels that come with the 37 package. They're gray on the Raptor R. You guys will see later that they are black instead of gray, so a little bit of a difference there. And then independent front suspension, and then you've got the live valve Fox shocks with the Raptor. Notice the gigantic fender flare. This is something that's controversial with the Gen 3 Raptor, is the fact that the front end is less fender and more fender flare compared to the Gen 2, so it doesn't have that same wide body appearance that the Gen 2 has because it's mostly fender flare. Anyways, you guys can see with the off-road side steps, of course, got to have Ford's keypad system, which it's kind of embarrassing, but I never use mine. I don't know. I just like to use the key, frankly. But you guys can see the stance there with the truck. It's identical in ride height and everything to the Raptor R. You've got the live valve Fox shocks, got the multi-link setup here in the rear, which is new for the 3rd generation. And it sounds like the shocks aren't any different. Now, this Ram TRX has aftermarket wheels and tires on it, and you guys might be confused as to why I would show this in the video, not the stock setup. The reason I'm showing this to you is this is what every single TRX and Raptor owner seems to do when they buy their truck, is they throw a set of 20s or 22s on their truck. And so I figured I'd just show this to you guys because, well, it was with the video that I'm using for this video, and also it's just a thing that does. Please don't do it. I will say that. Please don't do it. But I mean, it's your truck, so you can do whatever you want. But notice here, we've got the Bilstein Blackhawk shocks, and then you can see with the multi-link setup here for the TRX as well. And so from a shock and suspension standpoint, because they both have independent front suspension, solid rear axles. They're pretty much identical between the Raptor and the TRX. The biggest differentiating factor, right, is the tire size and the wheel size. 18-inch wheels stock with the TRX. Anyways, here are the shots of the Raptor R. So what you guys will notice here is the wheels are blacked out. You've got the code orange accents with like the supercharged V8 logo with the R logo, so it does have some things to differentiate it compared to a regular Raptor. Like the hood bulge is a little bit bigger, but to like a regular onlooker, it's just going to look like a third generation Raptor. And especially if you get rid of the graphics package, then it really just looks like any other third gen Raptor. So definitely take that into account. Now, popping inside, this is one of the downsides, in my personal opinion, to the 37 package that's not a Raptor R, obviously, because you get the blue interior. Now, I have a 37 package Raptor. I love the blue interior, but after seeing the black interior on the Raptor R that I have some shots of later in the video, it just, I don't know, the blue interior doesn't look as good, in my personal opinion. Now, with the 22 interior, they put a lot more black. Like with my truck, it's a 21, it's like all blue. Whereas with the 22, they put a lot more black in the interior. I'm guessing that people complained about the blue, and so they try to like minimize it, and that's why there's more use of black material throughout, with the leather trim, and then just a little bit of blue Alcantara. That's just my guess. But the Raptor has the exact same cab in the rear as the 37 performance package, and material use is identical. The only difference you guys will see is the color. So you don't get an upgraded interior with the Raptor R. The carbon fiber print, as you guys will see, is a little bit different compared to the 37 performance package, but again, you don't get any nicer carbon fiber, if that makes sense. It's just different print, basically, but all the same features with both of the trucks. And so that is something that I think is pretty interesting, that they didn't do something to like upgrade the interior for the Raptor R compared to the EcoBoost Raptors, considering the fact that it's like $30,000-ish more expensive, obviously before dealer markups. That's another video for another day. But notice with the carbon fiber print there, and then you guys can see code orange accents throughout the interior, which I actually am a huge fan of. I think they look really good. Now, popping over here to the TRX for comparison, this is something that I think that Ram did a really good job with, is the interior of the TRX, because you guys can see with the upgraded interior, really nice from a design perspective and from a material perspective as well. This feels like a nice upscale vehicle. Like, you feel like you're getting the interior that would come with a $100,000 vehicle, which after dealer markups on EcoBoost Raptors, that's how much those are going for, and Raptor Rs start over $100,000 with the MSRP. So I do think that that's a big benefit to the TRX. We thought that, you know, maybe the Raptor R might have a nicer interior to compete with the TRX, but doesn't seem like Ford really wanted to go that route. They stuck with the sporty theme with the interior. In terms of space, though, in both the trucks, by the way, it's pretty much identical. The Raptor does feel more open in the driver area, but it's because of the window design, how the window kind of like slopes down. And something else with the TRX interior that I really like is the fact that you can, or with the TRX in general, is you can do like some of the performance off-road upgrades on the TRX, and you can still do the luxury interiors with the Raptor. You can't do their base leather luxury interior with the performance off-road stuff. You can either do one or the other. Like, performance off-road stuff comes with the performance interior. So I wish that Ford would kind of do what Ram does, where, because like my TRX has the luxury interior, and then I have like the Ram bar, and I have the spare tire carrier in the bed and all that kind of stuff. I don't have 37-inch tall tires on it, obviously, but I don't know. I think that's something that Ford should consider, opening things up just a little bit. Always been a fan of the animation with the TRX. Still looks cool to this day. Notice with the steering, we got like the Alcantara on it. It's definitely not as cool looking as what you guys will see in the Raptor and the Raptor R from a steering wheel design perspective. I think it's still a really good looking steering wheel, but Ford definitely, you know, maybe the material use in the Ford steering wheel isn't as nice, but the aesthetic definitely looks a whole lot better. But from a gauge cluster perspective, as you guys will see, I think that it's just different ways of doing things. But point I want to make here, look at the steering wheel, like just really cool, sporty looking. The paddle shifters are big. Like, the steering wheel is just like, hey, use me and do some fun, sporty stuff. And the other thing I want to mention with the steering wheel is you've got a bunch of controls for, as you guys can see, like the steering and the suspension and the exhaust all in the steering wheel. I think that was a missed opportunity with Ram, so Ford definitely did a good job with that. And then difference with the gauge cluster, right, with the Ram gauge cluster, like half analog, half digital. So I think that that's just going to be up to personal preference. I like both gauge clusters for different reasons. And then notice all the drive modes. That's something that's cool about both of these trucks, is you do have a bunch of different drive modes for on-road and off-road use, so that if it's your first time owning an off-road vehicle, then you can just use the drive mode and let everything basically just do it all for you, which is cool that you've got that customization with the truck. Now, something else that I wanted to show here, not the off-road cruise control, but the four-wheel drive system. So we don't have two-wheel drive and we have launch control with the TRX, which is going to make a huge difference in terms of, you know, street races with these trucks, because the Ford Raptor R doesn't have launch control, and so the TRX having launch control is going to give it an edge, even though it does way more. But here is the Raptor R interior, and shout out to Ford for taking such pretty shots. But you guys notice it's like the Gen 3 Raptor performance package interior, just a little bit different with the carbon fiber print, but the material use is identical. The seats are identical. They're just blacked out, and you have some, you know, orange with the R logos and all that. I think it's a beautiful interior. I definitely am a fan of it. But again, they didn't really give you an upgraded interior compared to a performance package Ford Raptor. So it's basically engine. That is what you are paying for, is all engine with the Raptor R. Now, I included a bunch of exterior shots with both of the trucks, the TRX and then the Ford Raptor. Now, this is my EcoBoost Raptor and my TRX, and there are going to be some shots of the Raptor R. Now, I paid really close attention to the suspension on all of the vehicles in different, like, off-road circumstances, and I've, you know, owning both the trucks, I've driven both of them off-road. And so here's the best way for me to, like, sum things up for this video, is from an on-road driving perspective. The Ram TRX and the Ford Raptor are really, really close. They're both pretty much just as smooth as each other. And, you know, from a seat comfort perspective, the Raptor seats that are in the 35 package Raptor that are leather, those are just as comfortable as the TRX seats. But the seats that are in the Raptor R and in the performance package Raptor are not nearly as comfortable as the TRX seats. So the TRX is actually slightly more comfortable from a daily driver perspective, just because of the seats that you get in the trucks that we're comparing in today's video. Obviously, fuel economy in the TRX is not great, but again, the Raptor R has a 4:10 axle ratio, and the TRX is a 3:5:5 axle ratio, and so the TRX actually might get slightly better fuel economy compared to the Raptor R, even though it is four-wheel drive only. And then especially notice here with the suspension compression on some of these movements, with the trucks going through at higher rates of speed. But when you pop into, you know, actual off-roading, here's what I've noticed with the trucks, is with the TRX, you feel a little bit more through the steering wheel in terms of, like, little rocks and everything. It seems like the shocks with initial compression are just a little bit stiffer, whereas the Raptor kind of flattens all of that out. And so the Raptor on you know, trails at slower speeds is a little bit more comfortable than the Ram TRX, but at high speed off-roading, they're both pretty similar, because once you get into full compression with both of those shock systems, the Live Valve with Fox and the Blackhawk shocks with Bilstein, basically they smooth everything out. And so you can drive just as fast, and I feel like these shots illustrate that, is you can drive just as fast with both the trucks in off-road situations. And so they're just as capable as each other. Yes, the Raptor has a little bit more ground clearance. Yes, it has bigger tires, and I like both of those aspects. And I think the jump really shows you the difference with the shocks, because notice how the TRX really loads up on the shocks, and you can see that it completely clears the little demo teddy bear there. Doesn't, like, differential, nothing, doesn't touch. I was going the same speed with the Raptor, and notice how, because it doesn't load up the same way as the TRX, and so notice that the poor little teddy bear will actually get touched there by the differential. And so that shows you, that jump actually perfectly illustrates the difference with the shock systems. And so it's just going to be two completely different driving experiences. And how this relates to the Raptor R is it's going to be a very smooth, comfortable off-roading experience. You're going to feel like you're in control. And the Raptor R is going to be slightly lighter than the TRX. Now, a lot of people have been saying that's going to be less than 6,000 pounds. My EcoBoost Raptor with the door jam sticker says over 6,000 pounds. So the Raptor R, I'm sure the door jam sticker is going to say 6,300, 6,400 pounds. So it's going to be still lighter than the Ram TRX, but it's not going to be as light as what people are thinking, you know, once it's loaded up with fluids and everything. And so really what you're going to see is that it's just going to feel a little bit smoother, a little bit more controllable off-road to, you know, just the drive from a driver perspective. But you're going to be able to do about the same thing with the Raptor R versus a Ram TRX. And so I feel like they're really close. Obviously, again, the bigger tires do help out. Slightly more ground clearance does help out. They have the same amount of travel. And so what I'd have to say is, if you can get a Raptor R at MSRP, I feel like it mixes the best of both worlds between the Ram TRX and the Gen 3 Raptor with the EcoBoost in terms of, like, the off-road smoothness and having a big, powerful V8. It mixes those together perfectly. But if you can't, the Ram TRX is like 95% of the way there in terms of off-road comfort and performance to what the Raptor R will be. And so that's kind of the way that I see it with this comparison. So I do think that Ford's, like I've said in prior videos, I think that they've definitely moved the ball forward with the off-road truck performance, and the pricing reflects that, the MSRP pricing. So yeah, I will be making another video on dealer markups. So if you guys aren't subscribed already, I'd recommend subscribing, because I think that video is posting first, this video is posting second. So just go look up that video on my channel. But let me know which one you guys would choose, Raptor R or Ram TRX. Obviously, they both have benefits and downsides. And just to clarify my opinion, I think if we look at everything from an MSRP perspective, I think that the Raptor R just completely blows everything out of the water. The Ram TRX is a close second, and the EcoBoost Raptor is a very close third. They're all really close together, believe it or not. They're all really close together. But once you take into account market adjustment and everything, that does change things quite a bit. Talk about that in another video. I'll see you.